I think we will switch over to our next speaker. We have with us Banita Behera. She's associated with Southern Regional Center, and she is the officer in charge of the Zonal Anthropological Museum of Southern Regional Center, Mysore. To introduce, Banita has done her master's and MPhil in social and cultural anthropology, and presently she is associated, as I have already mentioned. Since a decade, she has worked as a curator in research and exposition wing at Museum of Tribal Research Institute and National Museum of Mankind. She has also helped in formulating an extensive interactive plans and programs for museum sector with reference to protect and promote tangible and intangible cultural heritage of India. Her contribution in field works is the toughest parts of India like Leh Ladakh and Himalayan region to document the high altitude cultures, and among the tribes of Andaman and Nicobar Islands, specifically the Jarwas, are some of her extensive contribution to the National Museum of Mankind and Anthropological Survey of India. Recently, she has been a part of many international and national conferences, and she has also participated in the international conference at Rome, and she has bagged many awards of repute. Her noteworthy contribution to the field of academics have been published in many international journals. So now we would like to hear from Banita.
Hello.
Your video has just a minute. Now you're visible.
Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible and visible.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you, host Dr. Roy, for such a warm words for me. I don't know I'm deserving for this. I don't know. But happy International Museum Day to all of you and respected our director, Professor Vinay Srivastava, and other the dignitaries, those are present in the class. As I can say, I can see Professor S.P. Roy and other Professor Chellapai. Yes, all are present here. So my greetings to all of you, sir, and happy International Museum Day to all of you, all the participants. So. Um, so every day, every year in the 18th on 18th May, we used to celebrate International Museum Day. So every year we are having the theme by the ICOM, and it is decided by the ICOM team. And as per the theme, we used to celebrate the Museum Day globally. So this year theme is the Museum for Equality, Diversity and Inclusion. Hope my PPT is visible to all of you. Host, hello.
I should ask others. Is the PPT
My
visible to
contents
all?
are visible.
Yes, yes, continue.
Okay, okay. So if it is not visible or if I'm not audible, please host let me know so that I can repeat it. If I will miss any sentence, I will repeat it.
No, no, it's
So,
okay.
okay. So this year theme is Museum for Equality, Diversity and the Inclusion. So on under this banner, the CRC has organized this webinar on anthropology and pandemic, a museum perspective. I must congratulate the head of the office, Dr. Ratnadhar, and the team, Dr. Roy and Sri Shukla ji, to organize such a beautiful webinar on this topic, because since 2 months we all are locked in the homes, and of course we are listening many more topics on this. But for the first time, I guess, if I'm not wrong, this platform has been created to know the perspective and the viewpoint of the music anthropologist. So it's a very nice initiative, and I'm thankful to the team. So I have selected my topic, that is the museum and the pandemics, culinary tell, impact, innovations, and the mitigational strategies for this crisis. So coming to the first slide, I just want to say, uh, hope I could have skip all these slides because we all are not anthropologists present in this classroom, of course. lot of people has been might have they registered from different disciplines, so I'm bound to explain all these things. Globally, a definition has been set by the ICOM, that is a museum is a non-profit permanent institution in the service of the society and its development, open to the public, which acquires, conserve, research, communicates, and exhibits the tangible and intangible heritage of humanity and its environment for the purpose of education, study, and enjoyment. So this is the definition set by the ICOM India, ICOM global ICOM's body, and this includes. I must say this is not specifically for the anthropological museum, but all the museums like different private museums, art museums, the creative museum, photograph museums, and architect museums. Different museums are now, bank museums are there. So different kind of museums are there globally. Millions of museums are running. So keeping their activities, ICOM has set this definition. So how anthropological museum different from all these museums? So anthropology, as we all know, specifically the people those are related to this subject, we deals with the archaeology, linguistic, physical, cultural, social, everything. But anthropological museum and the museum anthropology always deals with the is answerable to the public visitor through the exhibits and the collection. Ultimately, the goal of the museum anthropology is to serve the community. So I just want to read out this definition. In the very recent years, we are just listening this term, that is museum anthropology. Earlier, we used to listen, that is anthropology and museum and anthropology. But no, I just want to read out the Council of Museum Anthropology, anthropologist definition, that is museum anthropology encompasses the work that anthropologists do within museums and the anthropological study of museum. The theoretical framework of the museum anthropology underpin the study of the objects and the relation between the people and things. This is the most important. We should underline this. The museum anthropologists are responsible how to deal with the relation between the people and the things. So these are the definition and the aims of anthropology, museum anthropology. I'm not going to read out all these things because I have to skip and I should come on the topic. So museum anthropology aims to answer to the public, to the museum, what does it mean to be human? Why do people behave in a particular way? What are the historical and environmental pressure that help shape the experiences and behavior of a specific group? What are the universal fact of human life, the relation of between object and man? These are the main role of the museum anthropology. And of course, all over the globe, all museums are having their mandates as well as their mission statements. Without this, they cannot run a museum. So anthropological museum is also having a mandate. That is the mission to foster the development of anthropology in the context of museum and to act as a custodian of the communities. So this is the mandate of anthropological museum. So when we come to the goal of the museum anthropologist, when we are serving, particularly in museum, so we have to perform two duties, that is being a curator and being a museum anthropologist. So being a curator, in general, all the museum curators has to perform like this. They have to conserve, they have to collect, they have to keep the data, record. These are the general rules and duties of the curators, those used to they perform in different museums. But what makes us different from that curator? Museum anthropologists are responsible to portray the cultural unity diversity through the social cultural adaptation of man, to map the cultural diversity, to point out the specification in the culture, human cultural adaptation through diffusion, like this, specifically to document the transforming way of human life and culture. We are bound to display such kind of information in museums. So, coming to my topic, that is museum and pandemic, let's start from the history. So, this pandemic situation is not a new to us, the humanity. So, it has been happened, and our ancestors faced a lot pandemic many times. So, this starting from the prehistoric epidemic, that is circa in 3000 BC, the Athens plague, that is in happened in the Antonine plague, that is 165 to 180 AD, plague of Justinian, that is 541 to 542, and American plague in 16th century to very recent pandemics, that is flu pandemic in 1889, American polio pandemic, that is 1916, Spanish influenza that is in 1918 to 1920, Asian flu and AIDS, Zika virus, and these H1N1 swine flu. These are the very recent epidemics that we are facing, that has been faced by the humans. So the role of museum has came in the early 20th century, when the tuberculosis epidemic has been created a very big challenge in front of the globe. So museums, the history and its activity, the history of the activities of the museum has been landed in this platform since very early. So you can see in this photograph the public school children approaching to the north and south entrance of the American Museum of Natural History to just know about this epidemic, that what tuberculosis is, and because which virus and which epidemic we are, many of the people are dying in 1909. You can see in the cold climate, 6,000 children, school children, are approaching and standing in queue to know about this epidemic. And this time museum has proved himself as a big institute, as an educational institute in the world. So two kinds of blockbuster exhibition has been initiated by the National Museum of Natural History, Smithsonian body. This is the tuberculosis, and second one, that is Spanish influenza. The tagline of that exhibition was "Don't Spit." Don't Spit was the tagline of that exhibition, and it has been mounted in 1905 to 1909 to aware the people about this influenza and how they should cope up with this year. So museum played a very important role during this pandemic situation. So coming to the another museum, that is Oakland Museum, California. They have given what, not only the exhibition awareness and what they have did in the pandemic situation, that is not an important, but physically they have involved themselves in this pandemic situation. You can see in this photograph in 1918, when the people, means the patient not getting the place for the treatment, at that time the director of the Auckland Art Gallery, they have given the auditorium and the art gallery space for the treatment. You can see the nurses and doctors are here, and they have given this museum gallery for the treatment. For the next, in the next slide, this is in the late 20th century AIDS epidemic. Hope you all are, yes. So this content, you can see in this photograph, right hand side you can see this is the pamphlet has been designed by the museum about to create awareness about the AIDS. During that situation, what they have done, the anthropology, the National Museum of America and the Smithsonian body, they have mounted the exhibition on the AIDS, and they ask people to give their stories related to this pandemic, that is AIDS. So what happened, you can right hand side you can see the scrapbook, yellow scrapbook that has been designed by a mother when her teen girl has died during that pandemic, and with emotional and with all sentiments she has designed this scrapbook on her daughter, and she has given to the exhibition to mount it. So likewise, this is the global scenario, but likewise we are also now in this pandemic situation, we are also creating such kind of programs in India also. So in the next slide you can see, this is the photograph. You can see during the Spanish influenza, these are the wards, treatment wards. I have taken this exhibition panels from the Smithsonian body, the Health Museum, Museum of Health and Medicine. And in the next photo, yeah, this one. In this slide, you can see this is the 1100 men has been means affected by the disease, and in March 1918 they have all admitted, and this is the scenario of that pandemic that has been mounted in the museum at that time as a panel. In the next slide, you can see these are the during Spanish influenza epidemic in September and October 1908, you can see this is the camp for the quarantine as well as for the treatment. So 5,000 patients were treating at that time in this camp offices. And now, the next slide, the same photograph. The next slide. So this is the outbreak epidemics in the connected world. This is the same initiated by the Health Museum and Smithsonian body. And recently, whatever I have displayed you, these panels has been refurbished, and now this outbreak exhibition is online, and throughout the world is watching this exhibition online. Coming to the next slide, you can see these are the skull and the mosquito, the replica of the mosquito. These are the single object exhibition has been mounted by the Smithsonian body. So this is the skull of a man died in the 1920 that is providing new insight into the infectious disease today. And right corner you can see a giant shape this mosquito, that is Aedes mosquito, to make the awareness among the people that how this mosquito is carrying the Zika virus, and we should aware about this mosquito. They just made this single object exhibition. This is a replica they have designed. In the next slide, yes, this is the very recent exhibition that has been developed by the Museo Heritasia Art and Heritage St. Albert Museum. It's online on the pandemic, so it is open to the global people, and also it is open for the curators throughout the world. So they can give a form and fill the form, and they can send their country scenario to this exhibition, so that after this pandemic situation, they will come out with a very beautiful exhibition physically. So that's why this is on by St. Albert Museum. And in the next slide, this is what I feel. This exhibition is one of the best exhibition and idea. Not exhibition, it's a kind of idea. What I personally feel, that ideas will come in thousands in number throughout the world. People will say we should do this, we should do that. Like lot of exhibition and ideas for the exhibition will come. But how far we are implementing it for the sake of the humanity, that matters. Since 2 months, we are listening about the Corona warriors. Those are performing their duty during this pandemic. That is the police and the doctors. Those are 24 hours they're serving to the communities, to the people of India and through the globe. So for them, what Walt Disney Museum, Family Museum, has launched this app that is for the babysitters. Babysitter, among them, the Simba, the Lion King, from the Lion King, the Captain America, Barbie, Mickey Mouse, and of course for the Indian citizens, that is Chacha Chaudhary and Sabu. So these are the very famous characters they have designed that you can click. Those are the those children are not able to, they are quarantined and they are not able to meet their parents during this their duty. So at that time they can click on this Walt Disney Museum's app, and they can select a babysitter for the day. So the entire day that babysitter will come, and that babysitter will entertain the children. So this is a very nice initiative by the Museum of Walt Disney. And why museum matters to the global citizen during the pandemic, I feel that to create an impactful message to for the community and for the global people, that is, I think the museum is the best place through which we can create a very impactful message. We can remember a very recent incident that happened when in this when the 2020 cricket match has been introduced, and that year when we used to celebrate the Ganesha, we used to see the Ganesha in a very normal and very traditional attire. But that year we have seen the small idols of Ganesha and big idols of Ganesha came with Sachin Tendulkar's bat and empire's cap, like that. So it's a kind of, I can compare this with the museum. So it's a display, an exhibition. So that year it has been created a very big impact on of 2020 match on among the people of the world. So like this, through the museum, when we are connecting with the people, we can create a very impactful message on the pandemic. So, and museums can be united platform to discuss difficult questions and address challenges to the human society, as we already suggested by our previous curators that we can mount an exhibition, we can think for the exhibitions. So we are getting news about the pandemics and what since 2 months the media, the news channels are very much aware about this pandemic situation, and we are locked in our houses, and of course we are getting news from the news medias. But of course, I think this museum platform is the best place to trust, so that many more false informations are also coming to us, videos, and we are also getting the information from the government of India. Don't trust all the information; those are forwarded messages we are getting. But museum is an institute who can take the responsibility. We can trust on that. So through the museums, online exhibitions, and the physical exhibition, we can properly aware the people and humankind about this pandemic situation, what is actually happening, and we can give them prediction too, and we can suggest them what should be the precautions. So it connect with the communities and audience directly with the objects, as I told you, the Ganesha example. So that's why through the examples, like very museums are planning to connect with the people online exhibition like mask. We are requesting people to have the mask on your face before going to outside, and to sanitize your hands and your edibles that we are bringing from the outside. So these kind of objects, single object can be a message to the community, that mask can be an object, then sanitizer can be an object to our the people. Coming to the next slide, till now, I was explaining how museum, since from the history, how museum has created a positive impact on the communities and human about the pandemic situation. But now, I just want to explain that how this COVID-19 pandemic situation can hamper and can create impact on museum, and what should be the strategies and the mitigation strategies and the solution to overcome from this crisis. So I have just divided it is into long-term effects and the short-term effects. So in long-term effects, if we'll take the example that we can divide it in the financial and as well as the social and emotional. I've categorized it. So in financial, if we'll take, so European museums will be very much affected. But in comparison to the Indian museum, we don't think so. The Indian museum can be, of course, it will be affected, but we cannot say that the monetary we will be affected, financial, because since from the beginning, start of the museum in the Indian subcontinent, we never focused on the fund generation. We used to say that museum is a non-profitable organization, always serves to the community for the awareness and for the education, and we try to always preserve and conserve our rich cultural heritage of India. So that now very recent time we are getting the pressure from the ministry and the government of India. We have to create fund generation sources. We have to generate the fund through the museums very recently. But if we go to the history, the origin of this museum in Indian subcontinent, if we take as a pre-colonial view, so Indian when the Indian museum was started, originated, that was known as not started in front of the people that as museum. It was started as Jadughar, and is since it was the pre-colonial scenario, when in the north part, Lahore Museum, when it was coming, Pakistan and India, Indo-Pak separation was not happened. So at that time, Lahore was coming under India. So Lahore Museum was known as the Ajaib Ghar. In the north part, the museums were known as the Ajaib Ghar, and in the eastern part, Indian Museum was known as the Jadughar. So these two museums, Ajaib Ghar and Jadughar, were the two terms terminology used by the then museum anthropologists and curators, the anthropologists, so that people broke down the flow of the visitors and they came to the museum to see what is and how the Jadugar looks like and what is the mystery behind Ajay Ghar. So we shouldn't forget that people, how Indian people are curious for what, and what is, and that is our strength. So we shouldn't forget impact of communities and co-curators will be long-term damage, because as I told, in India most of the museum and in Asian countries the museums are by the community, for the community, and to the community. So community involvement is much more than the European countries. So we cannot say that monetary we can hamper the co-curator sentiment. Here, curator, I just want to explain in the museum sector, co-curator means the communities those are involved with the museum. They connect with the museum. They come and they directly design and display their objects. So many of the museums of Asia and especially the Indira Gandhi Rashtriya Manav Sangrahalaya, that is the largest open air this museum, ethnographic museum in the world, in the Asia. So these museums can be hampered by the co-curator sentiment. So I just like to explain this statement that culture is in the under the financial category. The European museums last week when I was attending a Heritage Malta workshop have conducted organized by the Greece, they were just mentioned this line that is culture is most important selling elements for us. So preservation of our culture is most important because our bread and butter is coming from this culture. So in the European country when we are going, so we can see the museums are mostly into the fund generation. Art galleries and numbers of art galleries, they are charging so much, so their bread and butter are coming from this culture. That's why they are having some different respect. Because of this we are getting our bread and butter. So they have mentioned this beautiful line that is culture is most important and selling elements, whereas in India we cannot say that our culture is saleable, we cannot say. So in the next slide, short term impact. Hello. Short-term impact. Short-term impact is categorized by the community outreach. I guess I personally feel that short-term impact will be mainly hamper the community outreach activities. May hamper most of the museums. They are community based on the community outreach activities. Whether you can take the textile museum Ahmedabad, they are more into preserve the textiles of the Ahmedabad by correlating with the Rabaris, and they are the co-curators. Those are directly connected with the Ahmedabad Textile Museum. And likewise, we can say the Doll Museum of Bhopal and Delhi. They have connected. They just connected the prisoners of the jail as a co-curators. They are making the dolls and they are making different kinds of dolls to explain the myths and the different sayings of the famous sayings as well as the mythological stories of India through the dolls. So there are the community sentiments and the activists. Those are short-term active impact of these museums. I probably very few times after the government order everything will be normal and we can start the community outreach activities. So this is not a very big important very big issue. And that is the next point is that the educational activity is, sorry, previous slide, I came to the next slide. uh, the educational activities, in the educational activities we can say that most of the museums are now online. Millions of museums are online globally as well as in India. We started the educational activities, so we can do it online basis and virtually. So I don't think so it may be a very big issue. Physically we cannot make it, but virtually we can do it. So physical maintenance and conservation is not a big deal. Till now also government of India has allowed you 30% of the staff they can go to the museum. So we can conserve the objects. So I don't think so this may be a very big issue for the museums. Physical maintenance and conservation may be a long term for the open air museums like IJRMs and other open air museums of Vietnam, Cambodia, and other Asian countries museum. Those are open air museums, and of course regular maintenance is very much required. So it may be a long term. Otherwise, for small museum, I don't think so. It's a very big issue. So coming to the next slide, mitigational strategies, innovation to overcome from the crisis is, I must say, to bring more virtuality in the next generation museum after post-COVID situation in our country is very much important. Now we are saying that museums has been quarantined, closed, and the museum has shut the doors. But I don't think so. It's correct because do you think that museum really know the locking and unlocking? I don't think so. Because if so, how the millions of museums are without knocking your doors are now in your home, on your mobile, on your TV. People are accessing the museums on virtually throughout the world. So I don't think so. Museums need any door open to go. If we are facing this pandemic situation, now also we can virtually we are making our the people of the entire world, when the entire world is under the paw of this pandemic, we are making available our museum to these people. So, but in Indian context, this post-COVID situation is very much important for these museums, because after this because of this COVID situation, we are now into virtuality very much, and we have to think about the virtuality, because we should practice. Most of the museums like Indian museums, the National Museum Delhi, we all are maintaining our website, but frequently the Bombay Museum, the Prince of Wales Museum Bombay, we are very much active in the website, but virtually we are not mounting an exhibition, we are not doing any activities to connect with the people of India. So we have to more into this virtuality. So when museums will reopen, following the protocols, new apertures should be developed by the curators as well as the anthropologists. So how many of the museums are they are dealing with the interactive objects? Every day people are coming, students are coming, children are coming, and they are having some objects and they are interacting by holding the objects. So these kind of activities has to be very carefully. We have to develop some protocols so that we cannot come into interaction very frequently. So we have to develops all these approaches. And one stand exhibition for the post and pre-COVID situation limited to website, and PDF circulation with the collaboration of rural bodies is most important, because as we know now, we can see the scenario, the migrant situation in all over the world, and 50% of our people are migrants, and they're running here and there. So because of this COVID situation, they are facing a lot of problem, and 45% of that entire tribal population is living in the rural areas. So they need the actual scenario of this post-COVID, this pandemic situation. So I guess I feel, especially the Anthropological Survey of India should come out with a one stand exhibition, and after that we can make it virtually. And this virtual is of course not possible for all the rural people, so that we can circulate the PDF and brochures like early in the historical periods the National Museum of US has developed. Same we can do it by with the help of the rural bodies. But when we are coming to the virtuality in the museum, at that time we can think about the far museums. Those are situated in different corners of India, that is Leh and Ladakh, Himalaya, as well as the Andaman. The Andaman Anthropological Museum in Andaman, you can see the next slide. Yes, this is the two parts, different parts of India that is far from our reach, of course. So many museums are surviving in this. And in Andaman, the Anthropological Museum is very much important, because when we are thinking about this virtuality and virtual and digitalization, at this time we should think the Andaman situation, because it is very difficult to reach their people over the phone. How you can think about the virtuality and the digitalization? So it is very challenging approach that it should be taken by the Intercom, the ICOM India body. So they should develop some policies for these kind of museums. So in Andaman, you can see at that time, since I was also posted and I was doing working as a curator of that museum. So at that time, I personally what I have faced, I need to explain. So when the world was running behind the virtuality and the online activities, at that time we were hopeless. At that time, when you will landed that, you will feel like life of pi. So at that time, how you can deal with the situation? Of course, we have developed some mitigational approaches like activities with the Jarwas, like museum went to mount some exhibition with the communities. Exhibition mounting means it doesn't mean with the focus light and the banners. We have developed the exhibition with the Jarwas community. Whether since they don't know what is museum is and what is exhibition is, we cannot say that we have mounted the exhibition with them. No, it's a kind of interactive workshop with the communities. Those are far from our reach. So it just to understand their expression and the psychological condition, and thinking about this inter communities, like we have mounted the other communities like Great Andamanis and Shonpins and other photographs in front of the Jarvas, and we just recorded their expressions and their psychological reactions. So this is the photograph you can see. It is the same photograph we took in the workshop. So this is a kind of approaches to mitigate the problems we are facing in the Andaman Anthropological Museum, as well as the street dramas, and to make by making the students as the ambassador of the museum, we spread the museum throughout the people of the entire island. And since that museum is very much important for the people of Andaman, because it is the museum which explain about the pre and post tsunami scenario, which is a kind of not less than a pandemic for the people of Andaman. Of course, they think that this is the deadliest situation for the people of Andaman. So at that time, so because of that, Andaman Museum is playing a very much important for that island. So ICOM India Intercom should develop some policies for this exhibition, this museums, and taking into account the museums of Leh Ladakh. I just want to explain about this Munsi Aziz Bhat Museum of Central Asia that is situated in the Kargil, that Leh Ladakh. It's a trade artifacts that they are having. Sorry, next slide, skip. Previous slide. Sorry, sorry. I just want to show you the map, the same map, India and yes, yes. So this is so I just want to say the museums in the high altitude, that is this Munsi Aziz Bhat Museum of Central Asia. This is a very important museum situated in Leh Ladakh that is depicting the very people of in the plain land people of India. They're very less aware about the communities. Those are the especially the nomadic communities in the Changthang area, the Drokpa, the Korba, and the Changpas. These three communities are always struggling for their identity for this Indo-China conflict. So these inter-community conflicts are also there for they are struggling for their identity. So this is the museum which is displaying the anthropological objects as well as the details about this community. So it is playing a rightful manner to disseminate the proper data to the masses. So that's why we should think this far museums as well as they, that means I want to say this museum is also explaining and displaying the objects and the details about the Aryans, those are living in the Kargil, and they played a very important role for the Operation Vizir that has been held in the Kargil war. So that has been mentioned in that museum that they have helped the Kargil, the Indian Army to win this Operation Visit. So these museums are very much important, but we are less aware about this museum. And so ICOM India should develop some kind of strategies and policies to solve these issues and to mitigate all these problems. Coming to the next slide, this is the exhibition that we have, not exhibition exactly, that the workshop that that museum has been initiated with the communities, the Jarvas. You can see the reaction they are painting on the pictures after seeing the photographs. Yes, next, coming to the next slide, not next, but it is my last slide. Museum perspective of pandemic situation. So, museum perspective on pandemic situation, if we discuss, so since we have created this platform to know about the museum perspective on the pandemic situation, usually we think of a museum is a place with behind solid glass always. But I must say, culture is not a museum exhibit. It remains alive only by the adapting itself to the modern condition. So, of course, nowadays we are living with the Corona culture. So, this man is living with the Corona culture is a part of this civilization, and we should display rightful manner with this museum, especially with the anthropological museums, with adapting with the modern condition. So, and in the next line, I just want to say the meaning of the integrity. Meaning of, in this pandemic situation, what human is facing, that is the meaning of the integrity and the faith of healing is the very master tools that can be heal the humanity, that terror has been created among the people, that has been healed by the only by the anthropologist as well as the museum anthropologist through the museums by the proper dissemination. So this is the mindset of we have to think about the mindset of ourselves, that how far we can help the communities as well as the humanity to disseminate the proper data to the museums. So during this pandemic situation, and in the last line, that is a femur thigh bone and evidence to the humanity where civilization starts. I just need to explain this line, that most of us we don't know that very big anthropologists in the history, they were the museum anthropologists, and they started their career and they continue in museum as a museum anthropologist. Of course, our Edward Bernard Tyler was the keeper of our Oxford University, as well as the Margaret Mead, the legendary Margaret Mead. She, madam, was the museum anthropologist, and she was the assistant keeper as well as. And then when she was promoted to curator, and I just want to share that story that always inspired the museum anthropologists and the curators, that years ago when she was taking the classes as a curator of students of ethnology, and while she was taking a class in the museum, years ago she has been questioned by a student, that is, what do you mean, what she considered to be the first sign of civilization in a culture. So people and the student at that time, the students used was expecting she will answer with a, of course, with a hunting tool or a board container as a household implement, and otherwise any other implement that is used for the hunting and gathering. So, but no, she was answered that she said that the first sign of civilization in an ancient culture was a femur thigh bone. For me, that had been broken and then healed. Mead explained that in animal kingdom, if you break your leg, you die. You cannot run from danger, get to the river for a drink or hunt for food. You are meat for polling animals. So now animal survives a broken leg long enough for the bone to heal. A broken femur that has healed is the evidence that someone has taken time to stay with that one who fell, jumped up of the injury, and has carried that person to the safety and helped that person to be healed. So during this situation, that situation, someone has helped the needy to get over that situation. So now we are in that situation. We can feel that we are helping the poor people. Those are running for the food. We are giving our best to serve these people. That we are donating. We are giving food to the migrants. We are trying. So this is the situation that we should understand, that now we are into the new civilization. So this is she explained that helping someone else through difficulty is where the civilization starts. So we should explain to the people of India, not only India, to the world people, that anthropologists and the museum anthropologists are the key informants and the people those can explain the right inside and the bright side of this pandemic situation, as well as to the people and to the humankind in a right manner. So uh, I would like to end up my talk with this last sentence with the legendary story of Margaret Mead. So thanks for listening, and I would like to thank our Director and Anthropological Survey of India, Deputy Director Dr. Sashi Kumar, and especially Dr. Ratnadran and Dr. Ghosh Roy and Shri Shukla ji, that they have created such a beautiful, wonderful platform to give opportunity us to speak something about in the core of museum, and allowed people to listen the museum anthropologists during this pandemic situation. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you.
Dr. Banita, just be with us. I'm just taking a photograph because we were unable to see you. So I would just want to take a photograph of I'm taking all of my speakers. Just I want
Okay.
uh, just one more. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, madam. Thank you so much. Am I visible now?
Yeah, you're visible.
Audible too?
Yes.
Hope I haven't missed my slides or my sentence in during the
No, no,
talk.
you were perfect. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Banita Behera ji, for such an elaborative lecture and taking us to an historical tour of museum and anthropology and museum. Uh, we will take up the interactive session. During the interactive session, you have got many comments and many queries. We will be having the discussion during our interactive session, and